Were you there in California?
Uh, I think it was 2 years.
2 years? Okay.
About a year and a half or 2 years.
Okay, and that was pretty much spent patrolling the coast?
No,
Okay.
then we moved to Camp San Luis Obispo.
Okay.
And we're supposed to have been, we were motorized infantry.
Okay, was this still in California? Camp?
Still in California.
Okay.
In the Monterey area.
Oh, okay. Okay.
We were supposed to go to North Africa to chase Rommel, but during that time, we went out to the desert for 6 months, Mojave Desert for 6 months to train in like 116 in the shade, and there's no shade in the desert. So, and then Rommel was defeated, so we went later on went up to the Aleutians.
Oh, okay. Oh.
Which was a far cry from what we were trained for.
Yeah. So, what did you do in the Aleutian? I mean, so how did you get? So once Rommel was defeated and they sort of canceled that assignment.
Then we were our motorized things were taken and we were assigned assault infantry.
Oh, okay. Okay.
And we trained on the West Coast in the Pacific Ocean.
Okay.
Yeah. And we took trips of assault landing over at San Diego, Camp Pendleton, all around there.
Okay. All right. So were you, I assume you were on like LST ships or boats? Yes. And that kind of stuff, right?
We went out on assault landing craft, and we went up to these great big troop ships, and we climbed the cargo ladders up, and then we went out on the ocean, and then went to San Diego and came down and landed at a place called Oceanside, and the surf was so bad we lost a couple of guys.
Wow.
Yeah.
This is all doing training.
All for training.
Right. What was it like? Had you ever been on a ship or a boat that size before?
No.
You're in the service.
No.
Did anyone know? Did you notice seasickness or any of your guys?
Well, there's a lot of the trip wasn't too. It was short. It was maybe about 12 hours.
Oh, okay.
But you had all your equipment, and you had to go down the cargo nets, and you had to be very careful. And a lot of guys got sick, but I don't remember whether I got sick or not.
Oh, okay. Okay. All right. So now, when you were assigned to the Aleutians, right around what time? What year was this? About what time? Do you remember? Maybe the month.
I think it was early May.
May,
but I can't think for sure.
Okay.
I was looking. I had bought my regiment's book, but I couldn't find it. I don't know where it is. It gave the whole written history of the Aleutian campaign, and I think my daughter has it. I don't know.
Oh, okay. Okay. All right. So, what was the Aleutian campaign? How was that? So you went there during the Aleutian campaign. So, what was that?
That was against the Japanese.
Oh, okay. Okay.
The Aleutians were part of the United States. It was Alaska and the Aleutian Islands were part of American property. And the Japanese had already fortified them 2 years before. Nobody knew that they were fortified. They had runways and they had ships, bombers and fighters there.
Wow.
It's amazing.
Nobody knew it.
Nobody knew. For 2 years they didn't know it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So what happened? What happened once you got there? What type of
Well, there was 8,000 Japanese on that island,
Wow, wow.
and they allowed us to land
Mm-hmm.
at a place called Massacre Bay.
Okay.
And the reason it's called Massacre Bay
Mm-hmm.
is that, as you probably know in history, Russian owned all Alaska.
Mm-hmm.
And what happened, there was the natives who are called Aleut Indians or Eskimos.
Mm-hmm.
And the Russians massacred them, killed them all in that particular area, and that's where we landed, Massacre Bay.
Wow.
And the Japanese allowed us to land,
Mm-hmm.
and they withdrew up into the hills, and as we went in, they had plunging fire on us and killed a lot of our men before we even knew it.
Wow.
So that was our introduction to combat.
Sure. Okay. All right. So did you lose any friends? Did you any
Yes.
people that you knew?
That's where I was wounded.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, and on that the first day of
No, about the third day.
third day, yeah. Okay.
Mhm.
All right. So, how were you wounded?
Well, I was in the mortar squad, and there was a young man ahead of me, and they had these heavy mortars. You know what a mortar is?
Mm-hmm.
And you had a vest with 2 mortar shells, two here and 2 in the back.
Mm-hmm.
And our mortar squad sergeant said, we need some more ammunition.
Mm-hmm.
So this young man ahead of me went up ahead, and a Japanese machine gun just cut him right in half, and I caught the rest of the fire in my shoulder.
Wow. Okay. All right.
So that was grateful for that. I'm still here.
Yeah. So what? Were you evacuated once you got hit?
I was evacuated to the same ship I came in on,
Oh.
and I thought I had the $10,000 wound, but I didn't. So what happened, they operated on my shoulder, and I was in the sick bay for, I think, for a day or so, and then there was a field hospital. I went right back to the island.
The field hospital was on the island.
Yes, and I was in the hospital, I think, for about 10 weeks, 8 or 10 weeks.
Oh, okay.
And they were still hunting Japanese and while I was still there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So, what day were you? Do you recall when you were wounded? The day, the specific day
No.
that you were wounded. Okay.
But probably my record would show it.
Yeah, sure, definitely. Okay. All right.
That was 60 years ago.
Yeah.
That's not so recent that you could remember.
I understand. I was just curious. That's all. What was it like being in the hospital and all this fighting still going on around you? What did you feel?
Well, at that time, when I was wounded, remember when you're up in the North Pole almost, you have a lot of daylight and not much night.
Mm-hmm.
So they couldn't evacuate me, so I laid in a slit trench for about 2 days, and at that time it was very cold and there was snow on the ground. And I had my feet frostbitten too, so I had to lay in all that, what they call, what the heck do they call, the frozen, I can't think what they call it, muskeg or whatever they had, and it's half turf and half frozen. It's all those islands are volcanic,
Yeah.
and there's not much soil on them.
Oh, okay.
Lava.
Yes, right.
Oh, okay.
And you can't dig any too deep because there's not that much soil.
Sure.
You're hitting lava.
Oh, okay.
So whatever little defilade you can get, you just get it, make yourself as small a target as you can.
Sure. Okay. All right.